Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. This is going to be a pretty in-depth tutorial on how to use the SikhiToTheMax software. For those of you who don't know, SikhiToTheMax is a software you probably see at a Gurdwara for searching Gurbani and displaying it on a projector or TV. It's actually a really old software dating back to around 2007, and it's evolved so much since then. To make your life a little easier, in the description below, I'm going to put time codes to each section of this video so you can skip around to the parts you find interesting, but I'm going to make this with the mindset this is your first time using SikhiToTheMax. To get started, the first thing you have to do is download the software. Go to SikhiToTheMax.org, and at the bottom you'll see a little icon for desktop app. It'll work on both Windows and Mac, so just choose the one that you're using. Now, SikhiToTheMax works best with two displays. If you're presenting to a projector or a TV, it's designed for that purpose. Now, before you open the program, the first thing you have to do is extend your desktop. You don't want to mirror what's on your primary screen to the TV or projector. You want to extend your screen onto that. And the way you do that is in Mac, you go to System Preferences and you'll see a section for displays, and there's a checkbox to unmirror your displays. If you're on Windows, it's pretty similar. Go to your display settings and just choose Extended Desktop. Okay, good. If you've gotten this far, you've downloaded the software to your computer and you plugged in a secondary screen to your computer as well. You are now ready to open the app. Now, when you open SikhiToTheMax, the first thing you're going to see is something called the Changelog. The amazing thing about SikhiToTheMax is that it gets updates all the time. The team is working almost every month, every week to release new updates. As long as your computer is on Wi-Fi, it'll get those updates automatically. All you'll have to do is press the install button once it downloads. So this Changelog is just telling you the latest updates that were pushed to your computer. By the time you're watching this, some things may have changed, but the overall experience will still be the same. The other cool thing you should know is when you open the app, it automatically detects your secondary screen. So it'll take over your main screen and your second screen, ready to go for presenting. The app is broken up into 4 different quadrants. The top left over here is the search. The bottom left over here is the navigator and the selector. The bottom right is where the history, settings, and your other options will be. And the top right is the viewer. You'll also see that the sidebar contains Sundar, Gutka, and Ceremonies, as well as this new Sangat Sync feature at the bottom. We're going to go through each one of these sections in detail. The first section is search. Believe it or not, we actually discovered that Gurbani was almost designed too perfectly to be indexable by modern apps. What I mean by that is, as long as you have the first letter of each word, you can search for it. So for example, if you wanted to search for the Shabad Gur Mere Sang Sada Hai Nale, you would type in GMS, Gur Mere Sang, GMS, Sada, S again, H, and then N. And there you go. Gur Mere Sang Sada Hai Nale, right there. And all I had to do was type in the first letter of each word of this Pankti. Now you're probably asking yourself, what if I don't know which key is for the Gurmukhi letter I'm trying to type? Now there's a solution for that. If you go to the top right where the orange keyboard button is, you have a virtual keyboard. So if you can't find a letter on your physical keyboard in front of you, you can just find it in this virtual keyboard over here. With that being said, most of the letters are pretty obviously mapped to your keyboard. So Gaga goes to G, Mama goes to M, Haha goes to H, etc., etc. If you do the shift key plus letter, you'll get even more characters. Now another cool search feature is sometimes you're in the Diwan hall listening to Kirtan and you can't always understand a word the Ragi might be singing. For this situation, we have something called the Wildcard. Let's take an easy example. Say the Shabad you're searching for is Puta Mata Ki Asis. The next line of that Shabad is Nimakana Bisuro Tumako Har Har. If you type in N, Nimakana, and then you're not sure if it's Bisuro or Visero, because sometimes it's B or a V, you can just type in the star key, and then you can continue typing the rest of the line. Nimakana Bisuro Tumako Har Har. And it's still able to find the Bisuro even though you put a star. That star will basically replace the character with all possible options. Now the last topic in search that I want to cover is sometimes the Ragi will not be singing the line from the beginning. Oftentimes Kirtanis will start singing a line from the middle. Now the reason why this is important is the default search option is first letter start. What this means is you have to start searching from the beginning of the Pankti. If you don't do the beginning, it's not going to find the results. So a good example of this is the Shabad Moko Tarale Rama Tarale. Oftentimes you'll see Kirtani sing the Shabads from the middle. Tarale Rama Tarale. So if we do that, Tarale Rama Tarale, nothing comes up. But if you switch this to first letter anywhere, you now see it come up because it knows that it needs to search anywhere in the line and not just at the beginning. You also have the option to search by full word if you wanted to type out an entire word. And lastly, you can also search by exact number right over here. Alright, the next section of the app is the navigator pane. At first glance, this section looks pretty simple, but there are some pretty neat tricks I want to show you guys. When you first click on a shabad, you'll see that the main line has a little home icon next to it. What this home icon means is that it's basically your home pankti. You can get back to this line anytime by pressing the spacebar. Now the cool little trick is if you're already on the main line and you press the spacebar, it'll bring you to the first unread line. And you'll see a little check mark come up. The check mark indicates that you've read the line. Press the spacebar again, it'll bring you to the main line. Press it again, it'll bring you to the next unread line. Press it again, back to the main line. Press it again, back to the next unread line, etc., etc. You'll see the check marks continue to populate, and you also have the option to change your home line at any time if you wish to do so. The only other things in this pane are the two arrow buttons on the left and right over here. Pressing this will actually bring you to the next shabad on that or bring you to the next entirely. It's a chronological way to go through each shabad and can be very useful for times such as Hukam namas that have multiple shabads or Akhand pots. The next section we're going to talk about is the history, settings, and other options pane. This quadrant is home to a lot of different menus and settings, so I'm going to do my best to go through each one of those. So the first tab we have over here is the history. This tab is pretty straightforward. Every shabad or bani that you open up will end up in this history tab. This is great for longer kirtan programs that require going back and forth between different shabads. Another quick tip about the history is it'll actually remember the lines you've read in each shabad, so you don't have to go back and remember where you left off. The next section we have over here is themes. You'll see quite a few different options that would work for your environment. I personally prefer the dark theme, but you could also choose any other one that's over here. They also release special Gurpurab themes at times. So this is the Tan Guru Nanak theme that was just released for the 550th Gurpurab. But I'm sure this will be going away soon, and then they'll be replacing it with other ones down the road for other major events. The next tab we have over here is the Insert tab. This tab is great for inserting things onto the screen that you don't normally search for. For example, you can add an empty slide, a Waheguru slide, Tan Guru slide. You can choose between all of the gurus over here if you want to. And you also have the option to add announcements. This is great for gurdwaras who sometimes have to announce something on the projector. You've seen those situations where someone parked their car outside in the wrong place, and then they always have to open up Microsoft Word, type something out, slide that over to the projector, make it big. No more doing that. You can just type in your announcement over here and hit add announcement, and you'll see it show up over here. You can also type it in Gurmukhi if you really wanted to. This is obviously something you'll have to spell out on your own, but you have quite a bit of flexibility there. The next tab here is the settings. There's quite a few different options here, so we'll go through each section. The first section is font sizes. You can control the font size for just the announcements if you'd like, or if you're displaying a line from a shabad, you have the options to control the size for the bani on the top. You can make the translation smaller or bigger if you'd like. Same thing for the Punjabi translations, and then the transliteration as well. So you could individually control all of this from the sliders here. Under fields to display, you can check off and on different parts of the slide. If you just want the Gurbani, you can do that, but you could also turn off the other things that you may or may not be using. You also have the option to choose next line. This will put the next line of the pankti that's following the one you're currently on at the bottom. This is really handy because sometimes the person doing SikhiToTheMax Seva is a little late to pressing the next slide button, so they have to, catch up to the Kirtani. This is a great way for the Sangat to see a little preview of what the next slide is going to be. Moving on to the next sections over here for display options, you can turn on something called a Akhand pot view. This is something that's still in beta, but it basically allows you to scroll through an infinite scroll of the Bani. So it's like an Akhand pot all in one screen over here. Very handy if you want to scroll. You also have the option for Larivaar if you want to turn Larivaar on. You could also left align the text. You can turn off the quick tools, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the shortcut tray can also be turned off over here. A quick thing about the shortcut tray, you'll see it's down over here at the bottom. It's just exactly what it says, a shortcut tray. You can press different things like for Maneetpol, Mool Mantar, Vaheguru, and blank. So a quick way to put the commonly used things on the screen. Moving on, you can turn on something called live feed text files. This is really useful for live streaming. You also have functionality like autoplay and controlling how the delay is for the autoplay. These are more advanced settings, so I won't go too much into those right now. Next, you have Bani settings. When we get to Sundar Gutka, this Bani length setting will be very useful, so we'll come back to that. Same thing for the Mangal position. The show Vishraams is actually what I've been having on this whole time. If you go to a Shabad like a Nansai, for example, you'll see this red or sometimes even yellow colored text come up. Those are the Vishraams. Those indicate pauses of when you're singing Gurbani. Sometimes you have to pause or have a little extra length on a certain word in the Pankti. So these Vishraams help you pause the right location of the Shabad. You can choose between a gradient background or a colored background. And you could also choose the source. Bani DV Living is the currently maintained version, but you could also choose between the old Vishraams from the old SikhiToTheMax program or the Vishraams in the iGurbani app. But I recommend keeping it on Bani DB. Lastly, there are a few more options. Turn off presenter view. If we turn this off, you're going to see the whole layout change. And what's happening is it's meant to be used on a single display now. So if you didn't have a secondary screen and you wanted to present on one single display, this is a good way of doing that. But most of the time, you're going to want to keep this on. And the last things at the bottom over here are limiting the changelog so that pop-up doesn't come up all the time, and also collecting statistics. We recommend keeping this on because it allows the Khalis Foundation team to get analytics for the app and see what features are being used and what we can improve on in the future. The last tab over here is the Others tab. It has two main buttons, which is for showing a random Shabad and the daily Hukamnama. The next section we're going to talk about is the viewer. The viewer is on the top right over here. This is a nice little preview of what is being shown on the projector or TV. So you'll see over here on my iPad, this is my secondary display. This is what's being shown on the projector, and this is a little preview of that. This is really useful because oftentimes at the Gurdwara, you're sitting in a place where you can't see the main screen. So you have to kind of guess what's on there. Not anymore. With this preview screen, it's really simple to see what's being shown for the Sangat. Also on the preview screen on the top left, you have quick tools. This is a really quick way to change the font size if you want to change something on the fly. You could also turn certain sections off and make other ones bigger. Next thing I want to talk about is keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts are a very powerful way to get around the app without having to click around through all these menus. Firstly, if you press Command 1, it'll show the Vaheguru slide. Command 2 will show you the Mool Mantar slide. 3 will bring you to a blank slide. 4 will bring you to the Nansai and Bog. 5 will open up the help section. And if we close this out and press Command 6, it'll open up the keyboard shortcut legend. And I'm on a Mac, so I'm using the Command key, but if you're on Windows, you would be using the Control key. Also, if you press the Command/ key, it'll bring you back to the search bar. And if you press the Enter key, it will open up the first search result. Another useful keyboard shortcut is the Command G module. This will allow you to choose between all the Tanguru slides, as well as entering in any announcements over here. The next section I want to talk about is Sundar Gutka and Ceremonies. On the left side of the screen, you have two icons on the top. This is the Sundar Gutka icon. If you have an iPhone or Android, you may actually have this on your phone. All it does is bring all those Banis you have in Sundar Gutka into the desktop application. So you'll see on the right, they've highlighted some of the major Banis that you're likely going to use at a Gurdwara. So Nitnem on the top, and some other popular Banis like Arti, Slok Mahla Nova, etc., etc. You also have this ginormous list of any other Bani you could think of if you want to choose that instead. A quick note for Sundar Gutka, if you're reading a Bani like Reras Sahib over here, Sometimes you'll have different lengths depending on which Gurdwara you go to. Some people read the short version, some people read the long version. Depending on which one you want to read, you can change the length in the settings. What I was saying before, under the settings menu and then Bani length, under the Bani options over here, you can change it to medium, long, or extra long if you'd like. You'll see if I choose the long option right now, it's going to add the Har Jug Jug Pagato Paya Shabad right at the beginning over here, as well as change the Chope Sahib length. This will also affect other Bani such as Swilla. The ceremony section over here is right now only populated with the Anand Karaj ceremony. This is a great way to have all the Shabads you would use for Anand Karaj in one long slide deck over here. They've also incorporated some English translations. Oftentimes, Gurdwaras will want to show a little English blurb of what's going on for people who are visiting the Gurdwara for the first time. But you can also turn these off by clicking the English translations toggle over here and then opening it up again. And now you'll see only the Bani comes up. Small details like this really intrigue me because they actually have Anand Karaj here twice for each lav. So it goes from the first lav over here and then it repeats itself again over here. And you may be wondering why, but it's because during the Anand Karaj ceremony, the Ragi sings the Shabad once, and then it's read as well. And then it goes back and forth, back and forth. So having it twice for each lav allows you to keep pressing the down arrow key and not have to go back and forth all the time. The last section I want to talk about is the Sangat Sync feature. This is a feature that just came out recently, and it allows you to sync with your phone. So what you have to do is click this little icon, and you'll get a code over here. And if you go to this website on your phone, sttm.co/sync, it's written right over here, and enter this code, your Sangat members can actually follow along what's being shown on the SikhiToTheMax, but on their phone. So it's really good for people who can't necessarily read the projector if it's too far away, if their eyesight isn't that good. Another use case is if you're the Kirtani and you want to be able to see the Shabad you're singing and have it update in real time, you can use this feature for that as well. So very, very handy, very powerful, a lot of use cases there. If you press the present button over here, it'll actually display the code for the Sangat to see on the projector. So that's basically it right now. If you made it this far, you have a basic understanding of the entire app. There are 2 extra features that I'm going to show as a bonus right now. These are a little more advanced, but for right now, I want to include them just in case you're interested. So there's 2 other things I haven't talked about yet. The first being Chromecast. If you have a Chromecast in your house, you can actually connect your laptop to the Chromecast and use the TV as a secondary display wirelessly. And it's built right in. You hit the cast button and you hit search for Chromecast over here. The other feature I haven't talked about yet is Bani Overlay, and you can access that by going to the Windows section and then Bani Overlay over here. Now this is something that you use for live streaming. I have a separate video about this which I'll link above, and if you want to learn more about that, I recommend watching that video first. So that's basically it. If you've gotten this far, you should have a basic understanding of the entire app. Please be sure to subscribe for more videos in the future, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.